as a sign language interpreter, how did you get interested in this career path, and what steps did you take to get there?
Well, I started learning sign language when I was very young, at the age of 10. I was at a summer camp in Maine where I grew up. And at the summer camp, it was a very, I'll say diverse group of people that were there. And they had several deaf campers there as well. And it was required for everybody to learn the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s in sign language to be able to have at least a minimal level of communication with our deaf campers there. And then I went back to that camp from the age of 10 until I was the age of 30. And I was a counselor there, and then I became the interpreter for them. So it was a great experience for me as well as for the campers. That's what led me into the profession of becoming an interpreter for the deaf. And that's why I've been doing it now for 33 years. What? Shut the front door. 33 years I've been working at RIT, and I look back and I'm very thankful that I had this opportunity and that I was exposed to the deaf community and to sign language at such a young age, and knowing again, another group of people that have been oppressed, that haven't had access to a lot of to just day-to-day communication, and that I saw that there was something missing. And one of my best friends growing up at that summer camp was deaf, and we kept in contact with each other every day, and that's how I got involved with interpreting.
As a staff member at RIT, how have you stayed involved on campus, and how has COVID impacted that?
Well, before COVID, very involved with all the student organizations, involved with the Native American Student Association, involved with the American Indians of Science and Engineering Society, involved with Ebony Club, involved with the Latin American Student Association, involved with all the organizations, as well as the Alana Faculty and Staff Association, and then more recently, one of the more recent organizations is the National Technical Institute for the Deaf Diversity Group, which I am a leadership team member of, and I have been for 7 years. When that organization first formed, I was very actively involved with them, and I still am. Now, since COVID, I'm not on campus anymore, but I still am involved with all the organizations via Facebook, social media, and the NTID Diversity Group. We're still very active with our diversity plan, and as well as with the Institute's diversity plan, and making sure that things are still going well for the university, more specifically for NTID, and very actively involved with doing more recruiting of people of color, as well as interpreters of color, and making sure that we have a good, diverse workforce, because we need to represent the student population, which we have not done very well for a long time.
Yeah, I know that's definitely been a controversial topic, whether it's diversity, women of color, you name it. RIT has slowly but surely been getting better about that, but we all know it's been about time. So next question. You've interpreted for many years. What are some of your most memorable gigs?
I'm going to say this is going back, way back. This is going to go back old school time. One of my favorite gigs, and some of you might not know who this group is, but there was a group that came to RIT's campus and performed at Ritter Ice Arena. And the name of the group was called Salt and Pepper. I had a great time interpreting for them. They were great with me. They understood what I was doing. And after the gig got done, when I got done interpreting for them, they came up to me, because they're not from Rochester, and they said, "Where can we go out tonight?" And they said they don't want to go any place that's popular, because they would be seen and then they would be swarmed by all their fans. So at that time, there was an organization called the Black Awareness Coordinating Committee, which I also was a member of. This was before we had a Native American organization. I contacted the president of the Black Awareness Coordinating Committee, and I said, Salt and Pepper want to go someplace, but they don't want to be bombarded with vans. And public safety was involved at that time as well. And at that time, back in the day, we actually had a game room that had a bowling alley. And the public safety contacted the game room supervisor and said, is it possible that this group, the Black Awareness Coordinating Committee, and these performers, Salt and Pepper, can play a couple games, do a couple games of, bowling? And they invited me to join them. So I actually had the opportunity to bowl with Salt and Pepper. Spinderella wasn't there at the time because she was pregnant, but I still had the opportunity to bowl with Salt and Pepper. That was great. That was one of my best moments I've ever had, being with somebody that's considered a celebrity. Other than that, I mean, there's been so many celebrities that I've worked with, and so many previous presidents that I've worked with. I'm going to say one of the most near and dearest moments for me most recently was when Ganondigan opened up the Seneca Arts and Cultural Education Center at Ganondigan, and they had their ribbon cutting ceremony, and they asked me to be the interpreter there. And when they actually, I know that they have been trying to raise money for this new building, for this new museum to be opened up. And it got emotional because they have been raising money for this new building for over 15 to 20 years. And to be standing there and interpreting with the site director, and to hear his voice start to quiver because they had this opening, and for me to be standing next to him, and then he started to cry, and then I started getting emotional. But it was a good emotion. It was like one of those moments where finally we had enough money and the building is going to be open to the public. And when they cut that ribbon and they opened up the doors, and there was news and there's media there, but just that moment when they opened up that door and they welcomed everybody to this new center, that was so near and dear to my heart. And it was emotional, but it was a beautiful emotion that I experienced.